Good evening, everyone. I'm glad you could join us. I'm your co-host, Kat Rocha, the night editor, and with me as always is...
J.Ishiro Finney, alien and author in a human suit. Yeah, I'm going nude for this one.
Yep, he is going full gray.
Yep, great big wang just hanging down the side of my leg.
Yep. And as I've said before, yes, it's cigar shaped.
So, should we fill the air for a little bit? We've only got, it says what, 5 people listening? So.
Sure. You want to have a little open mic time? Just
why don't we give a brief intro what we're doing tonight?
Well, we've got the Wicker Man.
We are reviewing the Wicker Man.
No murder hornets.
And unfortunately, no, it wasn't the extended cut, LK. Are you outside the U.S.? I couldn't seem to locate a copy here that will play in our region.
Yeah, not only did they apparently give us one that was cut and rearranged, but they refused to give us the other version. And I am quite disappointed and somewhat annoyed.
And just to make things clear, we're not talking about Nicolas Cage.
No murder hornets, no bees.
Yeah. You know Nicolas Cage with a thing over his head screaming, "Not the bees."
No. This is Christopher Lee, the late great Christopher Lee.
And nobody dresses up in a bear suit and punches a lady.
There are bears, though. There are people in bear suits. They're part of the parade, having a picnic.
So, okay, we got 7 people now. So since we have popped on 1973's The Wicker Man, very much a classic that was a massive change for the genre.
LK says that he got the limited edition DVD that came out a while ago. It was in a wooden box. Ah, I see.
I would really like to see that then.
Yeah. I derailed you.
1973, classic horror film. Not really, I don't know. It doesn't really count as horror.
I think it does, but not horror like how people get a visceral reaction to a lot of horror out there.
I mean, there's not a single bit of gore. No monsters. No psycho killer with a machete. It's primarily one long fever dream with a very big surprise at the end.
I'd say it walks that line between mystery and horror.
Yeah, it very much is a mystery.
And the reason why I call it a horror is because it's the personal horror of the police sergeant. I mean, at every turn, he is faced with questioning and doubts of the foundation of his religion.
So the quick plot, for those of you who have not seen it yet, is that a proper gentleman who is a police detective from London he flies out to an island out up in near Scotland, and they are an agrarian village, essentially. They live off the land, and he's investigating a missing persons case. He was contacted, anonymous letter saying that a young girl named Rowan Morrison had been missing for 8 months. And then he proceeds to go up there and look for her, and at every turn, things just continually get weirder and weirder and weirder, as he finds that this island has abandoned Christianity and re-embraced to the old gods and all of their rituals.
And God, should I go ahead and do the history lesson now? Or?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Well, one of the big points of this film is that Christopher Lee, who is the patriarch of this commune, shares that his family had been patrons of Queen Victoria. Now, the first time I had watched this film, I didn't think much of it. He explains how his grandfather had gone up there and had said that he would try to reinvigorate this island, try to grow things on there, and if fruitful, then they would get the honors of the Queen. What I didn't know at the time was the Victorian era was a golden age for England. It really was a new renaissance. It was the English Industrial Revolution. And so anything that was a new invention, a new way of doing things, a new way to improve the lives of Her Majesty's subjects was encouraged and greatly sought after. In fact, I believe it is during this period there was basically a gold rush to figure out how to cultivate pineapples in hothouses in England, because until this time nobody had been able to do it. Pineapples were exclusive to the tropics.
So the idea that a man named Summerisle went to this island and named the island after himself, apparently, and then dedicated his life to growing all these tropical plants up in what were essentially the Highlands.
Yeah, in Scotland.
Is absolutely realistic, and there's a historical basis for this. And Summerisle, the man who supposedly founded this island, was a gentleman. You got the sense that he was a gentleman soldier who had gotten his fortune in the wars. He was
a gentleman scientist too.
Yes.
He was an action scientist almost for the time period. And so the fact that he created this island paradise where almost in Eden, if you will, where all these fruits and vegetables grew in abundance, where there shouldn't be anything, was nothing short of a miracle. And even the flyover, you see his lands and you see all these tropical plants growing, where
palm trees. We thought that was a little bizarre the first time we watched it.
It's like, wait, why are there palm trees there? It's like, no, now we understand why. It was a big deal. It was to show how prolific he was. So it's a big deal what Christopher Lee's grandfather was able to do on this island.
I wonder if it's based on someone real too. I mean, it was apparently there was a novel that the script was based on. So I'm wondering if the novel was inspired by a real gentleman who went to some island and cultivated.
I want to read that.
If there might be some historical basis even further than just what was going on during that reign.
Well, I know for a fact that there are things in Christopher Lee's house that are supposed to indicate, his grandfather, what his status was, where he came from. The coat of arms is there, and it's just, I don't know enough about English.
Okay, well, one thing to point out, and I mean, we're really jumping ahead here, is Christopher Lee is the great-grandson of Lord Summerisle. Grandson of Lord Summerisle, following in his grandfather's legacy, continuing to be the head of this island community and maintaining this, I guess, agrarian miracle. And the entire island has gone pagan, and not just sort of pagan. We're not talking Wiccan. We're not none of this frilly crystals and hippie shit.
No, this serious hardcore shit.
These are druids.
Yes.
These are real fucking druids.
They celebrate the May celebration. The seasons changing.
This isn't something that flaky college students and fat cat ladies do to feel important and deep.
No.
No, this is the real thing.
That and I no, I'm not giving away anything here. I think we all know how the film ends. But one thing I really did appreciate that I don't see in modern films
Is a really hot woman like that?
like which one? There were two.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
No, the depiction of real pagan lifestyle, the giving thanks to the ground and to the fields and to the sun and to the ocean.
Mhm.
And when they do sacrifice, it's not simply, yeah, okay, I'm gonna pour one out for the gods. No, it's actually sacrifice, but it's also not the fruity, I'm making a big deal and a big production about it. No, it's really depicted as a genuine giving thanks. And I really appreciated that it wasn't fake.
Well, beyond that, the way that the town, the director should be applauded for this as well as the cast. At no point do you get the sense that these are people putting on a show or that they're even thinking twice about what they're doing is somehow heretical or anything like that,
No.
or that they're being dared. No, it's really portrayed that this is just how these people live. This is normal life.
Well, their religion is so integrated into their lifestyle as Christianity is for most people in the Western world.
Or how many films have we seen, or it's out in the middle of somewhere in the Midwest, there's some weird town that does some weird ritual, and there's a lot of pageantry. It's very obvious. Everyone's very self-aware of what they're doing. In this, no, it's just, this is day-to-day life.
Also, none of them are ashamed in the face of this cop showing up and flat out saying, how dare you, teach your children about the phallus? How dare you, have your teenagers jumping around naked in front of a bonfire? Don't you people have any shame? And they're just, what? Like, what's wrong with you? I loved that.
But what I was going to say about Summerisle's mansion,
mm-hmm.
is the whole village is very simple. It's agrarian. With this, other than the addition of electricity and plumbing, this could have been a village 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Do we even see any cars?
There are no cars.
Yeah.
They were riding horses.
Yeah, the only vehicles we saw were boats.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think any of them had motors.
No, they didn't. They were rowboats.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't have anything larger than a dinghy, and they made a point of stating that. So,
yeah, making clear that the island is self-sufficient. But yeah, this is a very simple community. But then you go into Summerisle's mansion, and speaking of his grandfather's past, and this is the mansion of a proper gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And a soldier, a gentleman soldier. You see all the animal heads that have been stuffed and mounted, showing that he's been a hunter. You see in the background, it's not a Japanese screen; it's a Chinese screen.
Yeah.
And there's all the Chinese decorations in one corner, and it's clear that he at some point had been in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And then there's another corner, and you see that he'd been on an India campaign and.
It was definitely showing that this was a man of the world.
He had an oddities cabinet.
Yeah, he had an oddities
And
cabinet.
a huge coat of arms over the fireplace.
Mm-hmm. And
a pipe organ.
And a pipe organ. He had a pipe organ, and he had a harpsichord.
This place
was it a pianoforte?
Let me tell you, this place looked like one cool place to hang out in. I would visit it.
Yeah.
But I thought that contrast. Just if you knew enough of your history, looking in the background, you found out a lot about who founded this island.
Mm-hmm.
But so rolling back to the beginning, I think it's important to bring up the very first scene. We get the police officer or the detective at church giving
he's reading passages from the Bible.
Right, and then they have communion.
And they're correct.
And it's very orderly, and it's it has all of the sacred air and of a church, and it has that grandeur to it.
Well, also, what I thought was very poignant was your very first image was the camera is zoomed in on his hands holding the hymnal, and you're hearing him sing while in church. And as it pans out, it's him standing next to what I originally thought was his wife, but it turns out it's his fiance, and they're singing in church.
Right.
And that is your first image of him, the absolute poster of Christian piety. The man and his wife singing in church, and then he takes communion.
Then you get him in the plane, and then immediately, from the moment he steps off the dinghy and gets onto that island, it is one long plunge into madness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the order and just the grandeur and the cleanliness of that church at the beginning is such a stark contrast to the island, where these people are of the earth.
Well, and it's not that they're dirty. It's just that they're peasants.
Yeah, they're peasants. Well, what I mean is that like the buildings are old, and it doesn't have a fresh coat of paint on everything.
No.
Nothing's paved.
No, nothing's actually. That's not true. There's one road that is paved. It's the sacred road that they travel down at the end.
And the other thing is they make it very clear. They keep repeating the line about, if you take the bread and wine, you're always with me.
Mm-hmm.
The communion.
Yeah.
So anyway, he gets there, and from out of the gate, they obviously don't take him very seriously. They're kind of messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
The locals don't have no respect for his authority as a detective.
Well, because he doesn't really have any authority there. I mean, technically he does, because they are part of the empire, but it's, as they said, the island's private property.
Yeah, they tell him to leave.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, because every step of the way, they're telling him leave. They're telling him, look, don't stay here.
They're constantly trying to give him reasons not to stay. And even though it was a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposition. Very well placed exposition. The food there is terrible, the food that they serve to him. And when he asks them, why is it terrible? They say, well, that's because it's all canned. And he says, wait, an island that is known for, its abundance of fresh produce is serving canned goods that are going bad? What is this? And the barmaid who is serving him just kind of shrugs her shoulder and says, well, that's just the way it is.
He says, I don't know, maybe it's been all shipped off to you.
Yeah.
Which is could that be a reference to the famine?
Oh, I figured that it was the peasantry being fleeced by the cities. Yeah.
But the moment he gets there, everyone says they don't know anything about this girl, Rowan Morrison, that she doesn't exist, that everyone regards the cop as kind of a moron. Even the girl's mother says, I haven't seen her.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer he stays there, the more and more he sees that there's something not right.
Well, the only answer that he seems to be able to get is out of the girl's sister, who says that Rowan is actually a rabbit.
Right.
But that's the only thing that he gets, that Rowan exists.
And then he stays at the inn, the Green Man Inn.
Mm-hmm.
Care to?
Oh, what the Green Man is?
Contrary to popular belief and slang, especially for you Canadians, Green Man doesn't mean weed.
No. Green Man is a very old and very classic pagan symbol of masculinity, of being a patriarch, of fertility. The Green Man, I'm sure you've all seen, it typically is depicted as a man's face in either leaves or tree branches.
Yeah. And he gets to this inn, I guess the only inn in town.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, they're all there. All the men are in the bar there, or the tavern. You see all the old men of the town they're supposed to be the respectable old men, and they're a bunch of dirty old men singing bawdy songs talking about having sex with the landlord's daughter.
Yes.
And she's right there.
Yes, but she's having fun and dancing with them, and dancing very suggestively with all of them.
And he is just appalled by this.
Yes.
And we find out that she has a very special role in town very soon after.
Mm-hmm. Very quickly, it is introduced that it is her task by the village elder, again, Christopher Lee, to introduce the young men of the town to the ways of women.
To the ways of baby making.
Yes, to the way. Actually, no, not to the ways.
Oh,
of
no,
baby.
you're right.
No, it was very well established that it's her job to teach the young men how to please a woman. That this is not, though a lot of what is brought up is in the ways of sex is all about fertility and making babies, because, well, in 2 days time, it's going to be the 1st of May, it's going to be May Day, and it's that big celebration. It's her job to teach the young men how to be a good lover.
And the detective cannot deal with the whole scene of the tavern. Gets him so annoyed, he says, "Oh, screw it. I'm going to go out for a walk."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes outside, and the streets are full of people having sex.
Yep. Also, I don't know if you noticed or not, but at the inn, the flower boxes don't have flowers in them. They have cabbages.
No, I did not see that.
It's another subtle fertility symbol there.
And
it's all over the place.
They keep doing the talking about death and rebirth over and over again through the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's about death and rebirth. And another real twist that made this such a unique film was that you didn't get your typical score for either a mystery or a horror film.
No.
I mean, so much of it was kind of this folk music based on old tunes of that era. I mean, they were obviously modernized, but
almost all of them were very pretty body tunes of wooing a lady or having fun with a woman,
and then references to barley corn and.
But also, the very beginning song is all about. First I was poor and I had nothing, and I used to have a farm. I used to have these great crops. I used to have all these animals, but now I have nothing. And that goes back to things that get brought up later when he goes to speak with Christopher Lee, which we will talk about soon.
But we were mentioning Victoria's reign.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the period in which a lot of these agrarian communities, and Ireland had a plague or a famine, an artificial famine because of it, where all of their crops were going to England.
Yeah.
And the people producing were actually starving because of it.
Yeah, there was nothing left for them.
And conversely, up in Scotland, it was factories instead, and it was kind of the same deal. Actually, you watched a few documentaries on that that were horrifying.
Yeah, it was very horrifying. There was also the era of the poorhouses and the Dickens era.
By the way, I'm seeing your comments through here. You guys are making some really interesting points, and let me tell you, we are definitely going to be covering it. We're going to answer a lot of these questions because. I don't know. You guys always have very good comments and questions, but this one, you guys obviously, the ones who have seen this, really paid attention and have brought up some stuff well worth addressing.
Yes.
So just letting you know, we're not ignoring you. By all means, keep chatting.
Yes.
So as the young boy, so the orgy's happening outside. There's the nude women in the graveyard.
Yeah, the nude women dancing in the graveyard.
Or crying over the graves and the trees planted in the graves.
Yeah, every grave has a tree planted in it.
And then he goes back, and the young boy is losing his virginity, and the officer just can't deal with it. He goes up to his room and just starts praying.
Yeah, he goes up to his room. He starts praying, and forgive me if I'm going ahead. You can stop me. But later, when he does revisit the graveyard, he is just so disgusted by how this land that had been hallowed ground has been let rot and fall apart, and he makes a rudimentary crucifix and places it over one of the graves, simply as a
because he was so disgusted that their dead would be cared for in this way.
Yeah, it's his little moment of defiance. Like he has to bring some form of Christian order to this.
It's like, well, it was not only that. See, because if it was just him imposing his views, it would be one thing. It was obviously he was so disgusted that anyone would do that, disrespect their dead that way. That at least he could do something.
Yeah. I saw it as multiple things. Not only just that he could do something, but also like he was going to be the one candle in the night type of thing. Bring some form of Jesus's love back to this, heathen, world.
And I thought it was quite clever that as the police officers trying to pray and sleep through the young boy losing his virginity to a very attractive woman, and he's hearing the noises of passion coming through the wall. The sounds climax with a match action where it fades to daylight, and they're mounting the wreath on top of a maypole.
Yes. Well, not only are they mounting a wreath on top of a maypole, it's the young men who are going to be dancing at that point. It's not the young ladies. The young ladies are all in the schoolroom chanting in time with the men dancing. And I thought that was interesting.
And for those who may not know, do you want to explain the maypole?
The maypole is a traditional celebratory dance during May Day. Basically, the maypole is a phallus, and you've all seen the maypole before. You may not have known that that's what it was called, but typically it's got ribbons coming off of it. Each ribbon is connected to a person, and then as the people rotate around the maypole in different directions, it weaves an intricate pattern of ribbons. But the maypole is a phallus. It is most definitely celebrating the penis, celebrating fertility. And typically you see young women dance around the maypole, and the idea is that it's the time for these young women who are now old enough to have a suitor to show themselves off to all the young men, and the young men watch the dance and figure out who it is that they want to get to know better. So I did find it interesting that the film starts with young boys on the maypole, not young girls.
And then he goes into the school nearby, and it's all girls in the school, and they're being taught a lesson of the maypole and what it means. And then they go outside and run around the maypole.
Yeah, they do it the next day.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, another thing about the graveyard was that, remember he asked for apples when he was in the inn, and they said, oh, we don't have any apples?
Yeah.
And he goes out and he sees that the fresh apples have been left on the graves.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting.
Is it then, or is it later that he is told that Rowan is in the graveyard?
It was a little, I think it was, it was that he checked the attendance record at the school and saw that there was a student named Rowan. And through the whole time, he's finding different clues, like a missing picture on the wall for where there should be one with a girl, and it's not there. And there's an empty desk at the school, and I mean, there's just clues all over the place that somebody's missing.
Also, I thought the symbolism of when he opens up the desk, he finds that there is a beetle that has been tied to a string connected to a nail. and the beetle is running around the nail, and every time it does a rotation, of course, it ties the string tighter and tighter and tighter. And the children find it amusing to watch this beetle basically tie itself up and in effect bind itself. And he looks at them and says, well, why don't you let it go? Why are you laughing at it doing that? And I thought it was definitely a metaphor for his own situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Endless Nocturne. So the maypole is the proto-pride parade.
Yes, as if you mean a straight pride parade.
No. Think of it more as the
celebration of hetero.
Yes.
And I like the bit where he just flat out says at one point where the cop just cracks, says, "You're all You're all raving mad."
Yes.
Then he finally gets his meeting with Lord Summerisle, which really is kind of the turning point.
Well, and
he says, look, these are a deeply religious people.
Well, this is also something that I didn't even think about consciously at the time watching it, but us talking later, it suddenly hit me. He's working class. Though he is a cop, though he has definitely he's been throwing around his weight and his authority to every person.
He's a cut
on the
above
aisle.
Working class.
He's a cut above working class, but he's still a working person. He's doing the Queen's work.
Now, keep in mind, class-wise, he's a detective. He's
a sergeant.
He's a gentleman.
I'm not entirely sure about that because he was in a uniform. That's not a gentleman.
Really?
He's a sergeant. He's acting as a detective.
Oh, okay.
He was wearing the uniform of a policeman. He's blue collar. He's just up there. But he's throwing his weight around and treating everybody, quite frankly, not the best way.
Well, and he repeatedly says that he's representing the crown.
Yes.
It's not his authority. It's the crown's authority that they're thumbing their nose to.
Yes. But when he speaks to Lord Summerisle, suddenly it changes. And he is addressing him as a gentleman. And he does that until it's time not to be nice anymore. But his first meeting with him, he very much so was cordial and nice to him.
But there's a very important point brought up with the meeting with Lord Summerisle, and that is why the island is pagan. And what it was his great-grandfather came there to take this barren island that was frankly falling apart and people were starving, and he was going to bring life to it with these experiments to bring tropical plants to the highlands. And he figured, well, let them have their silly nature religion. They'll work harder.
Yeah.
Which, they were Christian people, but it was very clear they'd much prefer to still be Druids.
And, if he had been to China, been to India, he's seen how the native peoples work better if you don't take away their native religion. So it totally makes sense that he would think that. And
then Christopher Lee said, well, then my father, he actually liked the religion.
Yes.
And that was when he says, oh, well, okay, you want Rowan Morrison? She's in the graveyard. Go look in her grave.
Okay. And
he goes,
well, oh no, I thought he knew that she was in there and he was asking to exhume
oh yeah,
the body.
He was asking permission. And he says, go ahead, yeah, do it.
That's the other thing, is that though the citizenry were kind of messing with him, but you're like, oh no, we haven't seen her, we don't know what you're talking about. Christopher Lee's character, Lord Summerisle, he never lied to him. He never stood in his way. He was always 100% open and accommodating. And anytime he asked to do something, Lord Summerisle said yes. What's interesting is that it's implied he probably would have gotten the answers that he wanted, or the answers he wanted, not the actual answers, and had left if he had just gone to Lord Summerisle on the onset, as everybody told him to. Everybody told him, look, I can't tell you this. You have to talk to Lord Summerisle. Oh, I can't give you this information. You have to talk to Lord Summerisle. And he didn't do so until he ran into so many brick walls he couldn't move forward.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. He didn't want to see him, which I thought was an interesting touch.
And I'm thinking, wouldn't you want to go and declare yourself?
If you was threatened to approach someone of a higher status.
I kind of wonder if that's a thing.
So yeah, he digs up the grave, and there's a rabbit in, or a hare.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is a hare. And that image of the hare kept coming up.
Now, I was wondering, do you think that was symbolic of, well, what do you hunt?
I thought so.
And he's the hare.
No, I definitely thought that it was symbolic of a hunt.
So they tell him pretty much, again, leave.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes up to his room, and Willow, the beautiful what is it? The tavern and hotel man's daughter.
I would like to point out this I caught this time around. The first time I didn't. It's not so much that they tell him to leave. They didn't necessarily say leave and never come back. They kept wanting him to leave so he wouldn't be there for May Day. It was specific. They didn't want him there for May Day.
Well, that, and they kept telling him, you don't belong here.
They kept saying you don't belong here, but they also kept saying you shouldn't be here for our celebration tomorrow. We don't like outsiders at our celebration. If you don't like this, then you're really not going to like our celebration. That message kept coming back. It's like I caught that they weren't telling him don't come back to investigate, figuring he would. They were just telling him leave and come, don't be here for this day, which to me is much more poignant.
So the night before May Day, the barkeep's daughter one more time tries to lure him into having sex.
Mm-hmm.
One last time. And it is very difficult for him. And he obviously wants to go in there and taste that fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is, we must bring up that it is established that he is a good church boy and he is a virgin. He is going to be getting married soon, and he is going to come to that marriage bed a complete virgin. And so this tempting of trying a woman before his wedding night, has even more significance.
And he barely makes it. What does he pray? He tries to sleep.
I think he hits the wall a couple of times too.
Yeah.
But he does eventually climb into bed. He does not spank the monkey.
And then May Day rolls around. And should we leave the ending a little bit of a mystery to those who have not seen the film?
I'll leave that up to you. I will say, though, that it must be pointed out that he does try to leave.
When May Day rolls around.
When May Day rolls around, he does try to leave.
Right. But by then it's too late.
Yeah. Well, even then, he's still given. What happens is he came in on a seaplane, and his seaplane breaks down. So first time I saw it, I thought it might have been sabotaged, but I think now it happened to break. But the locals give him every opportunity to stay in the tavern, stay back, stay away from their celebration. And he continues to push forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you have not seen this film, turn off now.
Yep, we're going to majorly spoil it because we have to in order to really discuss the ending of the film. And everybody knows, quote, how it ends. But I mean, to really discuss it, we're going to need to spoil some parts. So if you haven't seen the film yet, turn it off. You can come back later. We'd love to hear your comments afterwards. So you 3, 2, 1, turn it off now. Okay.
The May Day celebration begins, and it's cool.
It's cool.
It looks like one hell of a great party.
Yeah, it does, actually.
Animal masks, costumes, you know, naked people, hot women.
Well, it's fancy dress. It's carnival.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody is in some sort of garb depicting the animals found either in the ocean or on the island. And it is one big celebration of abundance and fertility and everything that is good that comes with the spring.
And Christopher Lee is dressed. His costume was what, the frightening man woman with the
yeah.
With a scythe, and
it's a hermaphrodite with a sickle and a bouquet of flowers symbolizing life and death.
And let me tell you, Christopher Lee is having a blast.
Oh my God. It was great watching him cavort around in that costume.
And once we get to the end, I want to talk a bit about him in this film, because this is his favorite role. And there's a lot, he really wanted to do this.
Well, he was amazing in it, and you can totally tell that he loved every second of it. But we'll get to that. What I thought was interesting was there were 3 main symbols of this carnival atmosphere. One was the man-woman symbolizing life and death. One was the man-beast, showing that man is no different than a beast. And the other is the fool who has become king for a day. And I thought those symbols were very interesting.
No, keep going.
Well, I mean, I'm very familiar with the fool imagery and the tarot. In fact, the tarot came up a lot in this.
But yet this is not the fool from the tarot.
No.
The fool from the tarot is Ivanushka, essentially the happy-go-lucky wanderer who somehow stumbles through his fate.
Yeah.
No, this guy is the, king for a day, fool for a lifetime.
Yes.
The person who thinks he's more important than he is.
And as just more symbolism, the cop actually knocks out the person who is going to be in the carnival or in the parade as the fool and takes on that costume himself. He chooses to take on the role of the fool. It's like, if you needed any more symbolism than that.
And in the end, you even find out that if Christopher Lee and the villagers are to be believed, by that point, all the events were, once May Day arrived, all the events were kind of led by fate's hand, and that he had been enchanted, and that he was bound and destined to do this now. Guided, yeah. And they said so. So either it was just a very interesting turn of luck, or no, he was essentially enchanted to do this.
And Christopher Lee brings up that, yes, the people of this island did go back to their pagan ways, did forsake Christianity. And as a result, the island was fruitful. And every year they would have a sacrifice for the harvest. But that sacrifice wasn't a human blood sacrifice. I know a lot of people, when they hear a Wicker Man, this is something that happens every year. No, it's made very clear they don't do that very often. It's usually the best of the harvest or a sample of the harvest. The best beer goes to the ocean. Choice animals from the flock get sacrificed. And again, it's giving thanks to the deities that made all this possible. But what happened is they had a horrendously bad harvest where the plants would grow, but the fruit just withered on the vine. And they figured that the only way that they could really, truly appease the gods so that they would have a good harvest the next year was to sacrifice a person. But Christopher Lee put it perfectly, which was, yes, we could sacrifice a child, but an adult is so much better. But not just an adult, it has to be an adult of a certain quality. And so everything was set up to bring forth an adult that fits these certain qualities that they were looking for.
Yeah, and it was he had to come of his own free will.
Yep.
And he is tempted multiple times. And I mean, if he had fallen at any point in their temptation,
that would have been it.
That well, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
You're one of us now.
You know, if he had gone home, if he had slept with that woman, if he had done all sorts of other things, he would have negated his candidacy for this.
He would prove that he was not the right guy.
Exactly. And, you know, what would the town have done then? Well, they would have figured it out, I guess, but that's not the point. The point is that they continuously gave him opportunities to leave, to change his mind, to show that he was not the one. And since he persisted, you know, he kept, you know, whipping around his authority as, you know, having the king's authority. That was part of it, as a man of the law who wields the power of the king. That was one of it. One, he had to be pure. He was a virgin. 3, there was something about him having to be Christian.
Right.
And there were some other parameters too, but then the last one was that he had to be a fool, fool who thought he was king for a day, which is exactly what he did. He put on the fool's costume all on his own.
Right.
And that is why he was sacrificed.
And he finally finds Rowan Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just been there to lure him.
Yeah, she's been the lure. She's been the rabbit.
And she leads him right into the trap.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it ends with him getting locked up in the Wicker Man with all their all the other animals that are going to be sacrificed, and they set him alight, and the pagans all start singing some song of rebirth, and he starts praying and singing. Which hymn was it?
I don't remember the hymn,
but it was defiant to the end that he was going to remain true to his faith to the very end.
I also really liked that he didn't do the typical "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." He did not quote Psalms. He quoted something probably from either Deuteronomy or.
Well, he was talking about life ever after.
It was life ever after. Maybe it was from Mark, but it was also about how the sinners will get theirs, and that he will go to the hereafter,
right?
To the never-ending paradise, and yet he was still afraid.
Yeah. So the short version of what this film's underlying theme is the clash of the old world and the new.
Mm-hmm.
That very much this is the old Celtic past of that land that had been there from day one almost. And Christianity was the modern world, the ordered world, the world where, you had a queen or a king and laws of man, not nature,
mm-hmm.
and so on. And that it was the contrast to that orderly set beginning in the church. And that's been something that I think England dealt with or all of the UK dealt with for a very long time. And to this day, there are pockets of supposedly secret druids still practicing. And
yeah, I've heard that there are stone circles that just on certain nights you don't go near.
So, and that to this day, I don't know about now, but I do know that it used to be that the old ways died hard, and that, for instance, the one I know better than other parts would be Ireland. They may all be Catholic, but they don't want to piss the fairies off. They definitely honored the fairies and all those holidays all the same.
Yeah, still do. You know, you still leave out the cake for the fae
Right.
in your backyard. You do not walk in mushroom circles. You know, there are other things too.
And I would suppose similarly, you might see some of that in the South here, or at least you used to
Mm-hmm.
in rural communities.
In the South, some areas of New England apparently too. Of course, Irish communities.
Oh, then also you've got we were in Atlanta and they were talking about all those black communities that still have voodoo.
Oh, Georgia, Louisiana definitely does.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
I'll be honest, that sounded a little creepier, honestly.
I've seen footage of not just voodoo, but Santeria.
Yeah, well, I remember we were in Atlanta and there were people saying, "Oh no, there's a place you can go right now that this is where they all go, and this is the various stores that they get their stuff from, and oh, here's the witch that they visit, or the witch, I forget what it was, a witch doctor, or I forget."
Well, if it was a woman, it'd be the mama. I mean,
it was the yeah.
I know in San Diego there was Mama Roots, and that was probably the only store in San Diego that I didn't think was like stupid hippie
hairy armpit hippie ladies who want to feel special.
Yeah, no, that store was serious. That store was definitely serious. I kind of wanted to go back there before I moved, but that's okay.
Just to check out the spectacle of it all.
It wasn't so much a spectacle. It was interesting. It was okay. I'm going to say something horrible. It was like a living oddities cabinet.
Oh, come on. Voodoo altars look like a living oddities cabinet.
The entire store was like that, and when I was in there, they had an opened chicken embryo on the cabinet, on the counter, and that was because apparently the patroness was doing something upstairs.
What'd that smell like?
I didn't smell it.
Oh, okay. Can't imagine that would smell very good.
But it was bloody and had rudimentary feet.
Lovely. Okay, so is there anything else you want to add to that?
To Wicker Man?
Yeah, I mean, really, again, it's a clash of the old and new. And the real failing of the US version is they could have done it, but they would have had to have altered it greatly. And they didn't have the balls or the creativity or the insight to do that. And they tried to stick too close to the original, yet set it in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
No, this story only works in a Celtic setting.
Yeah.
With a Celtic history. If you were going to do it in the Midwest, it would have to be completely different.
Well, I really also appreciated that with how much of this film
that and no Nick Cage.
Ugh. I like Nick Cage, but just no. How much of this film revolved around fertility and sex and through fertility and sex. It wasn't vulgar. It wasn't shocking. It didn't shove the vagina in your face or or shove a phallus in your face. It was just, this is the way these people live, and it was just depicted as that's how they are. You had the beautiful corn art on the walls, because again, it's springtime. That's what you do. You start doing all of these I know it's springtime and a lot of the stuff was harvest imagery, but still it's the same idea.
It's like the mom shoving the toad in the girl's mouth to take care of her sore throat.
Yeah.
As if it was just a Robitussin or something. Oh, no, just come on.
Yeah, the folk medicine there. And just showing how simple these people were. But even when there was, nudity or, especially when the bar wench was dancing naked, no complaints. Absolutely none of it was done tastelessly or for exploitation. I mean, well, I'm sure at the time it was showing how shocking these people are, because this was the 70s when this first came out, and he definitely was reacting absolutely scandalized by all this nudity, but it also wasn't done tastelessly. And considering how sex is one of those topics that so many people have so many different reactions to, I really appreciated how maturely it was done for this film.
Anything else?
Also, simply because of the times that we live in, I really appreciated how much they focused on the masculine.
Well,
I really appreciated the love of the dick in this.
well,
really.
well, you know, true paganism and druidic practices are very much both,
Yes.
and very much about heterosexual sex and reproduction. It's not all this fruity goddess worship, lesbian, hairy armpit, fat dyke shit that we see now.
No, it was, you had the maypole, you had corn men, you had a lot of talk of the importance of the masculine as well as the feminine in order to make the plants grow and the crops to become fruitful. I love that.
One of the most obnoxious and annoying things about studying or looking into the truth of druidic and pagan practices, or even just the history or prehistory of the Celts, is so much of it during the 60s and 70s was hijacked by feminists and commies that it's very difficult anymore to find any text that isn't polluted with women trying to portray it as some sort of agrarian matriarchy paradise, or with some sort of communist practices, and which is all over the place. Hell, there was that show that's going on now in the UK where it's supposed to be Romans versus Celts.
Oh yeah.
And the Roman portrayal is actually pretty good, but the moment they got to the Celts, it's like, yes, and it's this happy matriarchy where everyone's free and running around and talking about women's empowerment, and it's like, no, not even close.
No.
Not even close.
No, just the fact that the inn is even called the Green Man.
Yeah.
So that's my final.
Yeah, you hear anytime you run across a Wiccan and the first thing out of their mouth is goddess, just laugh at them. Seriously.
It wasn't until I read Scott Cunningham's books on Wicca that I even knew that they recognized a male deity.
And even he was full of shit.
Yeah, but he at least had some amount of balance.
Well, yeah, because he was a homosexual. He wanted some dick in his life. That is the only reason he wrote about that.
Hey, at least his preferred version of the goddess was Pele, fiery crotch herself. So at least
that's Hawaiian, isn't it?
Yeah, he lived in Hawaii.
How the hell does that count as Celt? Well, again, I rest my case that Wicca is just bullshit. I mean, okay, there are people out there who are really into paganism. They are true druids. Sure, great. But anyone who says they're a Wiccan, you can't take that serious as a religion. That's about as real as Scientology. Or maybe it's like worshiping Mickey Mouse and talking about, well, I'm gonna pray to Donald Duck now, and he's going.
Oh, hello, folks.
I mean, seriously. I mean, Jedi is a more legit religion than Wicca.
Jedi recognizes the dick. It glows.
Jedi makes more sense and has more basis behind it as an actual religion than Wicca shit. Okay?
Hi.
How you doing? And maybe sometime I'll get into why the Irish and the Celts in general did not reject the church. There was another myth about how they were very unhappy about Catholicism and later Protestants coming in. It's not true. That's another myth about how they would often go to war with the Christians. No, what happened is initially they were unhappy with the Romans showing up and invading and conquering. Who would be happy about being conquered? Mm-hmm. But when the church showed up and started talking about, oh, well, you know what? You don't have to be sacrificed. And, there's one sacrifice is already saved us all, and there's a place for everyone in society, and anyone can be redeemed, and we'll even teach you how to read and write. Suddenly, there was no shortage of pagans that said, "Fuck it, I'll be a Catholic." They were more than happy to adopt that religion, and yes, they did keep the aspects of paganism they liked.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of aspects of Catholicism that dovetail over.
Right, and that was by design for a lot of it. But so anytime you hear this stuff about, oh, yeah, the church stole their, forced them to abandon their culture. No. They left it willingly, just like a lot of the Native Americans on the West Coast, at least, more than willingly left the Indian ways once they realized what a great deal the church was offering. And that's true. And again, this is not coming from a Christian. I'm an atheist. I'm just talking about, look, this is how it really was.
You're talking history. You're not talking theology.
And, if you look at it culturally speaking, frankly, what the church was offering was a better deal. Okay, maybe you wouldn't get the orgies anymore, but, there weren't any, you didn't have to sacrifice your best of the harvest.
You still had mid-ceremony snacks. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the answers here. Or questions.
Questions
and comments.
Questions. Okay. It has to be noted, though, that even at the end, Howie maintained his faith just as strong as their faith was in his in Christ. I agree completely. Which
was one of the main points. If he had at any point cracked, it would have shown he was the wrong person.
Owen, I liked Howie. He was a man with actual morals, which contrasts Christopher Lee's character. So I felt bad what happened at the end. I don't entirely agree, Owen. I thought that Christopher Lee did have morals. It's just that both of them had different...
Opposing.
Yeah, they had opposing morals.
And I get the sense that Christopher Lee felt a lot of kinship with this character.
Yeah.
He had done a lot of he was primarily known for Dracula and
the Hammer horror stuff.
Yeah, and Jack the Ripper. It was that was primarily he was England's Dracula for the longest time.
Yeah.
And he was getting very sick of playing those kinds of roles. He wanted to do something different. And when this script came around, he fought tooth and nail to make sure this got made. And he loved doing this. And a lot of that stuff you saw were ad libs and him adding to it, and him dancing around at the end. All that was him.
He was having so much fun. But not if these people were sacrificing a human every year, yeah, I would totally say they have no morals. But the fact that they were desperate and they thought desperate times called for desperate measures, I thought that he totally did have morals. It's just they weren't Christian ones. But I agree. The fact that Howie's morals were strong and he never wavered at all. Definitely. Owen, The Wicker Man will be the only movie you get to see Christopher Lee in a kilt.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Owen, I was mistaken. Howie is the detective and Summerisle is the trickster. Again, I don't consider Summerisle a trickster. In fact, everything that comes out of his mouth is 100% true.
Yeah.
Would you say Wicker Man is darkly comedic?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a lot of humor in this. But, when you do these kinds of movies, mystery, dark horror, or dark mysteries, horror, anytime you drop a person into extraordinary circumstances, be them realistic or completely outlandish, if you're trying to maintain any air of realism, comedy's going to come up.
The reaction to the head crawling in the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Yeah, exactly. There's just this point in which the realistic reaction is going to be like that. Or just complete giving up on reality, saying, okay, fuck it, whatever, right? So it's inevitable that you're going to have humorous moments, and if you don't, it doesn't feel as real.
If the person's always deadpan stoic.
Well, yeah, because it means that, well, you need the characters to not totally buy the reality they're being presented.
well, kind of, the only cat scare I can think of that worked is an Alien when
Yeah.
Jonesy jumps at Ripley.
And just for instance, there's a reason in war, for instance, that there are people who have hysterical laughing fits, or people who like lose a limb or see their guts spread out, and they look at it and it's so out of reality and so beyond what they can comprehend, they start laughing.
And it's not that they legitimately think it's funny. It's just that.
Or you get the time when things have gotten so extreme or so screwed up that the person just says, "Fuck it, I don't care anymore."
Like an Event Horizon.
Yeah. Or Falling Down.
Or in Falling Down, you're right.
Think about how funny that can be at times. That film has some great laughs.
I'm an American and you're a sick asshole. Just he reaches his limit break. I'm done. Fuck this shit.
Let's see.
We're looking for something good. LK, watching it today, I didn't realize how much Edgar Wright borrowed for Hot Fuzz from this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have I seen Hot Fuzz?
Yes, but you probably need to see it again because I know your memory.
Yeah.
Same team that did
Super Troopers, right?
No. Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yes, you're right.
And they were the police officers, and the one guy is from London, and he goes to this backwoods town, and it turns out that essentially the town council is this cult that's killing people.
I do need to see this film again.
Well, the thing is, in the UK, this film's a classic, and that it had a long-lasting and far-reaching influence and impact over everything. And there's TV shows to this day will make references to it.
To Wicker Man?
Oh yeah.
No, I did know that.
So it's not a shock that Edgar Wright. I'm sure that hell, he's probably a fan, knowing him. Really brings nothing to the conversation other than a smile, so why not?
Oh, and I think the townspeople would have taken Howie more seriously if he had a Guyver suit on. Yeah, they probably would have taken him more seriously.
I think I need a graphic to flash on the screen now whenever the Guyver meme comes up. They're just
a Guyver graphic?
Yeah. Kind of like Pee Wee Herman's secret word of the day.
Oh, God. Ding, ding, ding. Just don't have cherry. That thing scares me. Okay, they also showed the disdain for the sanctity of the graveyard with the woman nursing her child next to that grave marker where he fashioned the cross.
Very good point.
But at the same time, it's also a
fertility thing, yeah.
Well, I saw it as the cycle of life. Yeah. Anyway, Underworld Dream. I remember in a documentary about Nazi and the magic that the Nazis wanted people to have sex in the graveyard so the babies will be reincarnations of dead people.
Okay, I'm going to say that the Nazis and the occult have largely been overplayed. I mean, let's face it, after Indiana Jones, the idea of Nazis having secret, the Thule Society and whatnot, trying to engage in occultism to win, has been really hyped. Now, no, it's absolutely true. There was a Thule Society, and there definitely was a weird circle up in the elite who took that stuff very seriously, but it was largely contained to them. I mean, you didn't have guys in the trenches there, rolling the bones to decide where they're going to shoot their targets, It wasn't Hellboy.
It wasn't Hellboy.
But yeah, I'm sure that they did want people to do that. I think this one's for you.
Feminists today would have hated this film. Indeed. Very much so. In fact, it probably would have been one gigantic penis bad, and they probably would have made it a woman cop instead of a man, and she probably would have escaped from the island
with the girl.
Exactly.
And she would have been the best at everything.
And they probably would have dropped tack nukes on the island afterwards, so that the message of how wonderful the penis is could never get out. Endless Nocturne. Isn't the ineffectual warning a trope in horror?
Yeah, it is a trope, but I think this one, it served a bit more of a deeper meaning. If at any point he followed any of their warnings or any of their temptations, he wouldn't have been suitable for a sacrifice. So it was integral to the plot. It wasn't just kind of a hollow, don't go into the moors, or, that town's a bad town, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Hell, that old guy, or don't go in that town. That shows up in the Shadow over Innsmouth in Lovecraft's story. That's how old that is.
Well, that and their warning him off wasn't so in your face, don't do this. It really did come off as, peasant folk on their own island not wanting the outsider there.
Yeah.
It actually came off innocent enough.
Yeah, at first it really did seem like they just didn't like him.
Well, what's the first thing they ask him when he shows up? Are you lost? Did you lose your way? Because there are other islands. And he's like, no, I'm coming here to this one. They're like, why? To investigate a murder. Oh, you sure? Okay. They seemed flat out baffled by him being there when he first showed up. So, actually, on retrospect, they legitimately seemed baffled until he showed them the picture, and then they realized why he was there, and we're like, oh, okay. And that's when they're like, they didn't answer his questions anymore, and they immediately started pointing him to Lord Somerset or Summerisle.
Somerset Ham.
Exactly. But no, I mean, it was that point. Okay, he's saying the Lord is my shepherd. Oh, thank you. Underworld Dream. Horror movies teach us never let go of your gun.
Damn straight. If it's a zombie movie, you keep that shotgun. If it's druids who want to kill you, yep, anything really, hollow points.
Silver.
If that Brit cop had been carrying, 9mm, 45, hey, I think those cultists would have fared less well. You might have been able to cut a hole right in the crowd, and get out of there. Yeah, Dirty Harry would have just forget it. It would have been over.
Yeah, but see this.
What about the rights of that little girl?
Oh God.
Of course, I think Dirty Harry probably just would have slammed Christopher Lee's face into the organ and said, "Where is she?"
Yeah.
That's the difference between an American cop and a British.
Then he probably would have completely dressed down the mom, and it's like, how can you do this? She's your daughter.
Oh, you gotta love Eastwood and the cop archetype he brought about
in his prime. Oh yeah, totally.
Even now he's a badass.
Oh well, now he's the old guy who doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
Where Schwarzenegger, unfortunately, has kind of gotten soft in his old age. Eastwood, no. Canales, you should see us Basques do this sort of stuff every carnival, minus the human sacrifice, unless we get too drunk, of course.
I have heard that carnival is like, if you're into curvy women with big tits and nice round butts, you'll go blind. I mean, you'll never close your damn eyes. I have heard
get whiplash.
Yeah, I have heard Brazil, and I've seen some evidence that Brazil has some of the most attractive, curvy, sexy women on the planet. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing carnival. Would you?
I wouldn't mind going.
Hey, yeah, you could dress up.
I could dress up, or dress down.
Dress down. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got the curves for it. Why not?
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, kind of. No, I got distracted there. Just you dressed up for carnival.
You could dress down too, and no one would be the wiser.
Alien, yeah.
Yeah. Would Gusio be there? I know, a different country.
That was Malta. Don't insult them. All right.
Underworld Dream. If it was in the Midwest, Nick Cage would have to fight Indians in a reservation who want to sacrifice people. It would be un-PC.
Well, you could still do it as druidic, but it would have to be extremely different and have to have the flavor of, well, really Depression-era United States. Where
okay, that works. I was going to make a car hinge joke.
When those practices started to flare up, when people were losing their shit and getting desperate.
Well, maybe I need to appease some other god because the Christian one obviously hates my guts.
Because apparently during the Dust Bowl, there was some weird shit like that going on.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And I do know that prior to that, in the 1800s, supposedly there were cults or little enclaves that still practiced the old ways. I mean, Lovecraft made a whole genre out of it.
I've heard of that, especially in the Rockies.
Yeah. But in the modern era, you wouldn't be far off. I think we've come far enough that we can portray Indians as villains again and just view them as human beings. That you have the heroic ones, and then you've got the ones that just want to sacrifice Nick Cage. I mean, there you go. Yeah.
No. Let's just be honest. Basically the real remake would be the Green Inferno.
Yeah.
Owen, minus the human sacrifice, Mayday looked like it would have been fun to participate in. I agree, actually.
I'd love to attend one.
Oh, totally.
Except they're usually full of those fat Wiccans who think it's all about a goddess and they have hairy armpits.
I'd go to England. So, Mad Ginger, the Basques brought America the dogs that would become the Australian sheep herd.
I'm beginning to really be impressed by your knowledge of dogs and dog breeding, Kronk. How does the Mad Ginger know so much about canines? Were you a dog breeder or just a fan?
I actually didn't know that. I mean, I'm familiar with the Australian sheepdog, but I didn't know that that's where they came from. Canalis. Oh, I'm definitely having one as a Basque making comics for Americans. Cool. Mad Ginger. Wiccan. Fat girls having sex in the woods, smoking cloves? I don't think they're having sex.
Well, I don't even want to go there.
Anime acid trip. Wicca is pretty gay. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And let's make something clear here. There's Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris is a homosexual, And then there's the Folsom Street Fair, and that's fucking gay. There's a difference, you see? There's a very big difference.
Well, what about Ian McClellan?
Ian McClellan. He's pretty fruity, but he's a homosexual. Guys in drag, those are just homosexuals. But Wicca, that's fucking gay. I don't care if it's a bunch of straight women. It's fucking gay.
Oh, especially if they're skyclad. Ugh.
Oh, no, that's just stomach churning.
Yeah. No. Damien, now tell us how you feel about Jim Ballen's Terra Witch of the Black Rose comic. You haven't heard us talk about that before, have you?
I'm gonna go get a drink. You just do you.
Oh, but
Terra, Witch of the Black Rose. Let's hear about this. What do you think about Terra, the Witch of the Black Rose? I mean, haunted vaginas. What does that bring to mind? Skeleton Man.
How sad I am that my issue is gone forever. Okay, Terra, Witch of the Black Rose. Now, honestly, as far as a comic, if you're trying to read it for plot and story, no, look elsewhere. But if you're reading it for really, really nice cheesecake artwork or a hilariously good time, go for it, because Ballant is damn talented as far as art goes, except for certain issues. Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed Tarot as far as the artwork goes. Is it Wicca? No. I know Jim, I think his wife and their friends are Wiccan, but no, it's cheesecake. That's all it is. It's a woman with pentagrams on her bra and on her crotch, and that's about it. But oh my god, that's one of those books that will always make me smile when I take a look at it, no matter what, because it's just hilariously bad.
But you gotta appreciate Jim Ballant's appreciation for curves.
Yes, as I said, if you want some amazingly drawn cheesecake, go for Tarot. Totally. There are some issues where I think when Jim phones it in, he really phones it in.
Oh, the werewolf issue.
The werewolf issue is terrible. I covered it.
It is so terrible. It's worth reading.
I covered it in an episode of Night Editor. Go check it out at nighteditor.com. It is hilarious. LK, I was disappointed though that Howie just slumped down into a heap. I wanted him hitting and trying to break the wicker wall even in futility.
Okay, I think we're about to the end here, so let's get the last few in.
Howie's problem was that the truth from Summerisle was so outlandish to his beliefs that he could not accept it as truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, the year before he did Wicker Man, Lee did 2 movies you should see, Horror Express and Raw Meat. The year after, he did The Man with the Golden Gun. The year after that was Space 1999.
Really? He was on an episode? How did I miss that?
I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
Man with the Golden Gun is very enjoyable. I mean, it's when Bond was really going towards outlandish, but who cares? I mean, it's got Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Horror Express, I've tried to show you that, but every time we start watching it, something comes up or we get too tired or somebody calls us.
It's another one of those things where it's cursed. We can't watch it.
Yeah, actually, it's definitely a bit schlocky. It's got more of almost a 1950s feel to it, but it is such a fun film.
It's a Hammer film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a demon on a train.
Oh, it's that film.
Yeah, I love that film.
Oh, yeah.
And
Endless Nocturne. Yes, Christians know God kind of hates their guts. It's kind of the lesson from the book of Job. You just got to suck it up.
Again, okay, I'm speaking from an atheist perspective, so I could be completely wrong here. My takeaway, and this is also kind of some of what I know about Gnosticism, was that the version that the peasants were given, the popular version that we're all told, is pretty much after Christ's sacrifice, God suddenly was not such an asshole. That Yahweh chilled out some and became God the Father, not God the tyrant. But from what I understand, and I've seen this more than once, that there are doctrines and versions, especially Gnostic, and keep in mind there is no one Gnostic interpretation. There are several. So that you can't say Gnostics believe one umbrella thing. There's all sorts of different flavors. But the one I keep seeing coming up, and it really makes a lot of sense to me, and it fits what I remember learning when I was going to a catechism, was that it wasn't so much that God suddenly chilled after the sacrifice, but in a sense, Christ's sacrifice freed us of the brute known as Yahweh, who was essentially a Hebrew war god in truth. And we were, I guess, reunited, or at least gained a stronger connection to the higher being known as God the Father, who isn't such a monster. And that was the actual transition from the two testaments, but that you needed the old one to understand context. Now, maybe that's absolute blasphemy, but it always seemed to kind of explain a lot.
Well, when I used to go to a Lutheran school. I was there from preschool to 8th grade. And the way they explained it to us is that, before Jesus' ultimate sacrifice, besides the fact that that's why you did have people sacrificing animals and things like that to Yahweh, to atone for their sins, and that Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. But Yahweh also stopped taking an active role in our lives at that point and became more, I don't want to say hands off, because I know that's not true. Because God the Father still has a plan for us, and still is part of all of our lives, but more, he's not going to fuck with us anymore.
Well, no, though, if you think about the nature of the manifestations in the New and Old Testament, in the New Testament, people are divinely inspired. They see the light of God. They it's always through dreams and visions, and it's always described as this brilliant light that's blinding, but you can look into it, and there's feelings of elation and things like that.
But he doesn't talk to us directly anymore.
No. But whereas in the Old Testament, God shows up as columns of smoke and fire and burning bushes, and you have to put blood on your door. The Holy Spirit's going to kill your kid. And this just does not sound like the same character to me.
Oh, I don't. I'm an atheist too, but sorry if anybody's a Christian. I don't mean to be blasphemous, but no, they're not the same character. They're totally not the same person.
Yahweh,
one is very much so influenced by the Romans, and the other is not.
Yahweh in the Old Testament, those appearances, the way he's described, are identical to how the jinn are described.
Yeah.
Whereas again in the New Testament, it's always these, divine inspiration and blinding light, and
but again,
it's not the horror show of the Old Testament.
No, it's not. That is very true. In fact, the horrors in the New Testament are almost all man-made.
As a kid, I remember it's like a column of smoke and fire, burning bush, voice that's terrifying. Are you sure this isn't Satan? Are you sure? Wait a minute. Isn't the devil the one that's all fire and smoke and killing?
Well, we know about Shaitan, but anyway.
But that's way off topic. Okay, so we've come to the end of this one. All right, he keeps asking this.
How many weeb points do I get for owning anime figures? I
don't know. Wait, I will answer that. How much money did you spend on them is the question.
I've got figures.
If you've got PVC figures that are like $20 or under, not really. You're just kind of a hobbyist. But
fuck, I bought all of the ones for Vampire Hunter D. I bought all of the ones for Trigun. You don't want to know my Gundam collection. So,
but if you're like talking big bad toy store prices here, oh yeah, you're a weeb. You can own like 3, and if you're paying big bad toy store prices, you're definitely.
Well, how about this? Did it have 3 figures at least before the decimal point?
How much did I spend for my Veritech? Or not Veritech, Valkyrie, sorry.
For Valkyrie, it's late, I understand. 150.
Yeah, so there you go. Where does that put me?
But it's die-cast.
Yeah, it is die-cast.
And it's beautiful.
And how much did that one cost there?
Well, that one I got as a steal on eBay.
Yeah, because usually that's pretty damn expensive.
Normally that thing's $60, and your Motoko is $70.
Yeah, see, so look, I'm in the same category here, dude.
So.
It doesn't matter that I'm mixed race. I'm an American still, so I think regardless,
it's all good.
You're an American. You're spending ass loads of money on Japanese figurines. Yeah, that what are you gonna do?
You're gonna put them under glass.
Oh, I did. I put them under bell jars.
Yeah. Owen, it's fine. Plenty of people say worse about our faith online and TV, mostly cheap jabs, like on Family Guy. You guys at least respect our religion. Of course. No, it's true. I don't believe there was a point in my life when I did, but I have great respect for Christians. It kind of pisses me off when I hear people talk disparagingly against Christians. Because Christians have morals.
Yeah, I'm finding as TDS sets in, Trump derangement syndrome, and people just get crazier and crazier and the masks come off, I'm finding that conservatives and Christians are the people I end up hanging around because they have a moral compass and they believe in something
Mm-hmm.
more than themselves.
Yeah.
You know, what can I say? So now that we've come to the end here, there is a Jim Ballant tarot story that I want to share.
Oh no.
Has absolutely nothing. Oh, now I get to embarrass you for a change.
Okay, you tell the story. I'm not telling the story. You tell the story.
And we were coming around to the tarot story that Kat once encountered Jim Ballant. Actually, we used to see him every year at San Diego Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
And in all fairness, he and his wife are like crazy nice. His wife's a little nutty. You get kind of the sense that maybe a little too much peyote or something. But Jim is just nothing but nice. His wife seems kind of spaced out. Nice, but spacey.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've always got these really hot goth honeys working the booth, who are also very nice. They're not stuck up at all. But anyway, once we were going by the booth, and I leaned over and I said, Kat, I dare you. I dare you to go up to him and tell him that you want Tarot to have some big ass dick in the pages with her. That you like the boobs and the ass, but it's only fair if we see some big dick. And I honestly didn't think she'd do it.
This was the first year we were dating.
Yeah. This is back before she didn't care. This was back when she isn't quite the warrior she is now. Back then, she a little less self-assured, little young still. But no.
Do you want to tell them exactly how young, or?
No, I don't want to sound that awful.
Okay. I was legal. Don't worry.
It was legal, but it was a massive risk. I'll be honest. 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 18 years old. I was 8 years older than her. That was a massive risk. But I was right. There was something special there. And 5 years later, we got married.
Yes.
Figure if you're with her after 5 years, it's good. But anyway, so we're at Jim Ballant there, and I lean over to Kat and I say, tell him you want to see some big dick in the pages of tarot. She looks at me. She looks at Jim. And she kind of gets this, well, she looks at me and goes, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Let's look like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And she marches up there standing tall, and she goes over and she leans forward and lets her cleavage hang down. Just, I want to talk to Jim. And so the girls go get Jim. Oh, this girl, and let's face it, girl, big boobs. Jim's going to talk to her. Okay, so Jim comes along. And by the way, Jim is a giant.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, this guy is like almost 7 feet tall. String bean, rail thin, but he could have played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He's so tall. But gentle giant, very nice. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. What's your name? And
yeah, incredibly nice.
Shakes your hand and is so what can I do for you? You got one of the books, I forget which one, just to be nice.
Yeah, no, I bought the one after the one I was going to talk to him about. And
he signed it for you, and then said, okay, well, before I go, I want to tell you, I love tarot. I love Witch of the Black Rose. I love Cryptic, and I love the way that you draw women. I love that they have great big tits and round hips and nice asses. I love that you're not afraid to draw beautiful women. But I think it would only be fair if you gave us some dick. And I don't mean just a little bit of dick. I mean some great big throbbing cock. I mean like this. And she jets her forearm up in the air, raising her fist.
No, I said, Tarot is such a strong, powerful woman. She needs a strong, powerful man with a strong, powerful cock.
See, I told you I wouldn't do it justice. And at first he gets this look like, and then he starts thinking about it. And all the goth girls at the booth say, yeah, Jim. Yeah, you should do it, Jim. It's only fair. You should have some big dick in there. And he starts getting this look like, yeah, well, maybe and he kind of walks off. And he's kind of thinking about it. 3 months later, or was it 5? It was 5 months. 5 months later. There it is.
There it is.
Right there on the pages. Great big dick.
And it kills me. I didn't pick up that issue.
You should have. You did that. You did that.
I don't remember why I didn't pick it up, but I looked at it like, holy fuck!
Oh, that was back in the day when there was a lot of depression going on, as you recall.
Yeah, that's true. I should, although I think I can find it online. So, but yeah. No, it didn't. It wasn't as awesome as the haunted vagina, but just the fact that it was a big cock and that it happened right after I had proposed the idea. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Okay. Underworld Dream. I'm not Christian, but seeing how badly they are being bashed at every opportunity has started to bother me a lot. Most of the time, I don't think they know what they're talking about.
I would agree. I mean, there was a period in the 80s, especially, and the 90s, sort of, but not so much, where the fundamentalists were really intolerable, and they were an absolute nuisance, and they generated a lot of bad will. I mean, you're getting those. It was primarily that Harvest Crusade thing. They were releasing all those videos about rock and roll being evil, and guides to parents about
Was it
He-Man's the devil.
Was it Rocket's Your Choice?
Yeah, and that bad will. I mean, it was going to court mocking. It deserved mocking, but my feeling is that battle was won. Those people were laughed out of the room. Shouldn't, at that point, it's done, it's over? But I quickly saw that no, for a lot of people, it was just about being cruel and mean to anyone who thought differently. And part of me really hopes that once we get through all this mess with TDS and all that other crap, that the various people that have all found a common interest, be them people who used to think they were liberal, atheists, you name it, who have all realized, no, the common enemy are those who oppose personal freedoms, that we can just move beyond this. And it does bother me greatly that there is a strong contingent that just hates Christians. It has nothing to do with, those assholes were making our lives difficult. No, that battle's over. Shouldn't you be better than that? No, it's not your turn to be the asshole. Fuck. And that really sickens me. It was very disappointing to see so many of these internet atheists who had said they were just sick of being picked on. Okay, I can hear that. But when they won the battle or they won the argument and they just kept going, it's like, wait a minute.
Well, I'm going to flat out state this. Any atheist who starts going on about how much they hate God,
or they need a club,
or that they need a club, I'm sorry, you're not an atheist. You're a Christian who's got a vendetta against God.
Yeah, I don't understand atheist clubs. I mean, what is that? We're all going to get together and talk about all the things we don't believe in?
Or who feel that they need to pick fights with Christians simply to say your religion is stupid.
Yeah, as if it gives them meaning in life. And it's like, guys, I thought the complaint was the intrusion upon your personal freedoms and your life, not that they believed something different. And the total disdain for the fact that, all these different religions through history have had an effect on our literature and our art, Christianity's been the backbone of our justice system. I mean, that deserves respect. That you don't throw that out just because you don't have the faith element.
And, I'm not opposed to people having theological discussions or, things like that, where it's just open dialogue. That's fine. I mean, outright hostility.
Yeah. I mean, when you start getting groups who want to take down a cross that's been on a hill for 300 years, what the hell is your problem?
You're like, well, it offends me. Why?
Oh, so you're no different than the people you were complaining about that.
Yeah, it's like, how often do you go up to that hill?
Yeah.
No, it's just the fact that it is there. What was it? It was on government property. It's on government property, and there's a separation between church and state. It's like, it's a historical artifact. The government didn't put it up there,
Does that mean we're going to have to bulldoze standing stones in national parks? I mean, it's the same logic, right?
It is. And then these are also the same people who flipped the lid at the idea of Baphomet being put up in a government park. It's like, no, everybody can put up a statue there. So it's ridiculous. And when it was infringing on our personal freedoms, the fundamentalist groups that were just being complete assholes, sure, I understand that.
But
Yeah.
wanting
Hey,
to,
hey, they had to bring in D. Schneider
Yeah.
to go in front of the Supreme Court to fight for our right to offend people in music.
because they weren't going to take it
Yes.
anymore.
No.
And you know what? He was the son of a minister, and he said himself he was a Christian.
Yeah.
So there.
There you go.
And yeah, it's just, we're losing something if we jettison all of it. And, you know, yeah, my mother tried to raise me Catholic. I just never could embrace the faith element. Even as a little kid, I failed at it. And I told the story, I think, about when all that time, I thought that they were just, that all the mythology was just like the Greek and Norse mythology, that they were symbols for something we didn't understand. And when I said that in catechism, and I suddenly realized, oh shit, everyone takes this seriously. They don't see it as symbolic. Well, that was a very uncomfortable class. That didn't go over well.
And for me personally, I actually enjoy going to churches. Now, I don't go in unless I'm invited because I don't feel right doing that. The only church that I would is a Catholic church because I know everybody's invited. But I actually do enjoy going to churches and observing how people worship. And there's only been one time I've ever had a bad experience doing that, and that was with this born again group that was meeting at a Y. Not that there's anything wrong with the YMCA's. I've been to other groups that met at YMCA's, and that was a wonderful experience too. But this one, they felt like they were going through the motions, and the whole entire thing was who's a bigger Christian. And it was really sad because I knew more about the Bible than the minister. And I showed him up and I really didn't mean to. And then they tried to force communion on me like it was fucking drugs. You know, it's like, come on, take it. We're all doing it. I'm like, no, I don't want communion. I don't feel right taking it. Oh, don't, you know, it's okay. I'm like, no, it doesn't have the same meaning to me. It's not right for me to take it. And it really bothered me that they were forcing communion on me. But I've had other experiences that just feel wonderful and welcoming and open. And it makes me sad that there are people out there who don't want people to have that feeling.
Yeah, just deny them their right to freedom of religion. There's a reason that's in there, you know?
Well, like with everybody being on lockdown right now, I've really sympathized with coworkers and with friends who haven't been able to go to church and have that sense of community because of the lockdown. And they all understand why that it's that way. But especially with Easter, I felt really bad for them that they didn't have that.
Remember I pissed off your stepdad saying, you know, look, if people have a right to want to practice their religion, dude, back off.
I actually almost cried seeing people sitting in their cars in the church parking lot listening to the minister on the radio, because just the fact that they were all together in their cars in a parking lot, they had that sense of community, that was the closest that they could get to it. And it made me cry.
Do you think some of it is the fact that you see this coastal elite and they believe in nothing. Their lives are strictly for apparently material gain and their own pleasure. They have no higher purpose, no higher calling, no sense of a larger community or belonging. Mm-hmm. Do you think that to some degree it's jealousy? That they...
You know, that is a question I've been trying to figure out, and I don't know. I think for each person, it's different. For some people, I think it's definitely them railing against their upbringing, against mommy and daddy, against being told you have to be a good and moral person, otherwise you'll go to hell. And then they go to college and decide that drinking and smoking pot is much more fun, and thinking.
Well, since when did that keep you from hell?
Well, that's the thing, is they equate that to, I've heard them equate that to other people. They realize that some of the truths that they were told are not true. And they go in the exact opposite and never swing back. to being at least a normal person. I don't know. I mean, I think for each person, they have their own reasons.
Well, as I said, I came by it honestly. It just never clicked with me. I'm a little envious. I never felt the sense of community in churches. Always felt like it was just like school, though. I just felt like I didn't belong in the group. I didn't belong there. I didn't make any. For whatever reason, I just did not socialize very well, and that the faith element, I wasn't even aware I was supposed to have it until much, much later. Just who I am. I mean, it had nothing to do with being angry. Anger didn't come until the harvest assholes started harassing me every day. But anyway, let's move on.
Yes, D. Schneider is the man.
And then I think we're going to call it quits after this.
I'm glad I follow you guys. It taught me not all atheists are like Brian Griffin.
I want to know who Brian Griffin is.
Family Guy?
Oh, really?
Yeah. The dog?
Oh. Isn't the dog essentially the mouthpiece for Seth?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you, Owen. I'm so glad that you're following us too.
Well, here's the question. It's 15 minutes to 8 o'clock. Do you want to come back at 9, or are we done for the night?
I'm good either way, honestly. How are you feeling? I know that you've been really tired today.
I really want to do it, but why don't we do one tomorrow?
I like that idea.
You guys want to hang out with us tomorrow night? All right. Well, we will call this a night. Thank you for joining us.
It'll be Sunday.
And we will talk to you then.
Yes, definitely. Good night, everybody. Thank you.